can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career?
Yes, my name is Joterius Neal. I am a licensed attorney in North Carolina and South Carolina, and I work at Morton Gettys in Rock Hill.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what type of attorney you are and what exactly do you do on a daily basis?
Yes, I practice civil litigation and also personal injury, which are both in the civil field. On a day-to-day basis, I'm typically drafting pleadings, reviewing agreements, client communications, be it in person or over the phone. That's about it.
What is civil litigation?
So you have different areas of the law, and at the top you have basically civil and criminal. And so I practice on the civil side, typically people filing lawsuits against each other, people or businesses.
Oh, or the plaintiff?
Well, I'm at a general practice firm, and typically we represent the defendant, but sometimes we do plaintiff's work as well.
Okay, all right. And how did you end up getting into this field?
Honestly, it's what I was hired to do. When I went to law school, I wasn't necessarily sure what I wanted to do, and the same was true when I graduated. So I came where I saw a job opportunity.
Okay, all right. Now, what type of different law can people go into?
There are a lot of different areas of law. Again, when you start at the top, you've got civil and criminal, but even within civil litigation, you have employment law, you have, again, personal injury, you have business law, you can be a transactional attorney, you can do real estate, you can do medical malpractice, family law, really just about anything always has some sort of law involved.
And what are the type of careers are involved in law?
Of course, you have your support staff. You have your paralegals, you have your legal secretaries. As a lawyer, when we go to court, of course, we're dealing with judges and bailiffs. When you're trying to settle, you have mediators. So there are a lot of different components of the law and a lot of different people that work together.
You mentioned before about law school. Can you tell us a little bit more about the education that you have to go through and how difficult is it to get into law school?
Yes. So first you have to go to college. So you need to have your high school diploma, go and get an undergrad degree. Most law schools are going to accept any major. So you can major in basket weaving or you can major in engineering and go to law school. Before you get into law school, you have to take something called the LSAT, which is the LSAT, essentially. And different law schools, depending on the prestige of the law school, have different thresholds that a student would need to meet, with the LSAT and their GPA. After you get into law school, you have 3 years of schooling, and afterwards you go to take the bar exam.
So if you could do it all again, what would this be the area of law that you would go into, or what would you recommend to students?
Yes, this would be the area of law that I'll work in. I am actually enjoying my job very much. I think if I had to do it all again, I would have a different undergrad major. I majored in criminal justice, which is a fine major for if you want to go into policing, probation, parole, or maybe if you want to teach criminal justice, that's great. But I would say for law school, if you want to be successful in law school and be challenged in a way where you could be successful as a lawyer, you want to pick a major that is going to be either writing intensive, because you do a lot of reading and writing in law school, or something that's going to challenge you to think critically. And at least for me, undergrad was very easy because of my major, and I could have been a little more prepared for law school if I had a more challenging major.
Can you explain a little bit more about the reading and writing that you do in law school?
Yes, law school is very reading and writing intensive. You can expect to read hundreds of pages a day. Now the thing, you learn there is a skill to reading in law school. You do learn to get the important things that you need to take out of a particular case. But especially that first year, really learning the language of the law, because reading law is very different from reading other types of texts. You are going to be reading word for word for hours every day.
And how often do you actually go to court? I think that's a big misconception for lawyers in general.
Yeah, well, most cases certainly settle. So, when I'm in court, it's typically going to be for a hearing. I've been a practicing attorney now for almost 2 years. I haven't actually had a case go to trial yet because the stakes are very high. Litigation is very expensive. So typically everyone has an incentive to settle outside of court, which is kind of where the writing component comes in, because you're drafting agreements, You're going back and forth drafting pleadings and trying to get everything done outside of court.
Okay. What are some of the pros and cons of your job?
I think a pro of being an attorney, some of the pros is definitely the flexibility that we have. Again, there are a lot of different areas that you can practice in. So if there is a particular interest that you have outside of the law, you can probably find that interest within the law. Lawyers can live a good lifestyle, and there's a lot of upward mobility to being a lawyer, and kind of being able to be independent and chart out your own path.
Now, you mentioned a good lifestyle. So students always like to know, on average, how much do lawyers make?
Well, it's a hard question to answer. It certainly depends on your market, and it depends on what area of law you're working in. So, if you get out of law and you go into public service, or if you're working for a state agency, your salary is going to be a little bit lower. So I would say, as a lawyer starting off, you can make anywhere from $35,000 to $150,000. I think I know people, that falls within those ranges. And there's really not a cap on how much you can make, as you move throughout your career as an attorney.
One of the careers I think a lot of people don't know about are mediators. Could you kind of explain what a mediator does?
Yes. So a mediator is someone who helps mediate or settle a case. So typically a mediator is going to be, speaking to both sides about the pros and the cons of their case and the risks of their case. And they're trying to, reach a settlement for both of the parties that's beneficial to both of the parties.
Okay. And do you have any advice for students who are interested in this field, like courses they could take now or skills that they can develop now?
Certainly. If you are interested in being a lawyer, you can certainly get involved in mock trial. I believe they have those at the schools now in Rock Hill. Again, do reading, writing, just focus on being, very detail oriented. If you could go shadow an attorney to kind of get a true sense of what it's like, because again, it's not like what you see on TV.
So I guess I have one last question is, what, on a daily basis, does every day kind of look the same? Does it look different? What does an average day look like for you?
An average day. Okay. An average day for me, I come in the morning. I always have a lot of emails, missed phone calls. So I'm typically, the beginning of my day, I'm getting caught up on those. I may be checking in with my supervising partner on whatever cases we have active. And really from there, it just depends on what type of cases I'm working on, what I have going on. And sometimes we have our fast moments where I'm in court a lot, or I've got a few mediations or settlements scheduled. And other times I'm working on drafting and getting new cases out of the door. So it really does depend. I think one of the good things is about being a lawyer is you're really not doing the exact same thing every day, but there are routine tasks that we have. Before COVID, we were always doing consultations, so we're having people come in and out, trying to decide if we want to take on a new case or not. With some of my existing cases, even last week, I went out to one of the sites that one of my clients were at, and was getting up on ladders, trying to find evidence and do all those cool things. But that's not quite as routine, but it does happen.
So what are some reasons that you would go out to the site?
There's something at the site that we need to find, right? And again, I work in civil litigation, but in a criminal matter, if there was a robbery or a murder, it may be important for a lawyer to go out to a site to get a perspective on what happened. Or on the civil side, if there's a company that installs industrial machinery and they go and install this machine in a warehouse, and the machine malfunctions, or it damages something at the warehouse, then as the attorney, you want to go out there, get photos, and get a sense of what's going on.
Okay. Is there any other advice you'd like to give our students?
Yes, I think wherever you are right now doesn't have to define where you go, and it doesn't matter if you're on an advanced track or if you're on a college prep track or if you want to, go to ATC and learn a trade, where you are right now in your life doesn't have to define your future. And so just, stay pursuing your goals. And I mean, you can truly accomplish anything that you want to accomplish, no matter what's happened in the past. The sky's the limit.